Emmaus Salford is part of the wider global Emmaus movement. Emmaus was set up in 1949 by a guy called Abbé Pierre, who was a French priest, and it was in response to the homelessness that he saw after the Second World War in Paris. So he met a gentleman called George, and George was homeless at the time and was potentially going to kill himself. So he got talking to George one day, and they challenged each other to help other homeless people, and they joined forces and set up the first Emmaus community. This was in Abbé Pierre's home in a chateau in what was then the outskirts of Paris, but what would be now the centre of Paris. So Abbé Pierre came from a moneyed family, and they gathered people together, and lots of people moved in and lived in this house. But they soon realised that once you gather lots of people together, if there's nothing for them to do, that's when they get bored, and that's when the trouble can start. So that's where the concept of the rag pickers came from. So the guys who were living in the house all started going out and recycling the materials that they found at hand. And what that means is they would go into the houses that have been bombed, where people weren't living anymore, and they would take the old furniture and clothes, etc., and then they would repurpose those or reuse those or resell those. And in doing that, they gathered more money, made more money, they developed the community, and they brought in more people. So that was 1949, and now we're in 2016, and there are over 300 Emmaus communities around the world, and there are 30 Emmaus communities in this country. We were the 25th Emmaus community to open in this country, and we've been going now for about 4 years. We've had companions, and the people who live in communities are called companions. It's a companionship model way of working, so the guys who live here look after one another and look after themselves, so hence the name companion. We have got 18 companions living here, and that's taken us 2 years to get to that point. So what happens is people make an application to join our community. So we're not emergency accommodation, or we're not hostel accommodation. We are somewhere where people who've been previously homeless would make an application to come and join us to make it their home. And they move in, they get their own accommodation, they get their own room. They share facilities, so we have a large dining room and kitchen that they share. We have large lounges, and they share toilets and showers and things like that. But everybody has their own room, nobody has to share their room. I'm trying to think where I was going with that one. Let me think. Yeah, so people join our community, and they make it their home. So they can stay in Emmaus communities for as long as they're a positive and active participant in the community. So somebody could join when they were 18, and in effect, if they wanted to, they could leave when they went out in their box. So they could stay for their whole life. That said, if I got an 18-year-old or 19-year-old who joined us, I'd always be looking at how we then support them to think about where they're moving on to. So for example, we have a young man who's called Martins, who joined us over a year ago now. And when he joined us, he had been street homeless. And now he's on a college course in Manchester, and he's a virtuoso saxophonist, that's the word, musician. And he's on a music production course, and then hopefully in September we are looking at a degree course for him, which could possibly, if we get the funding, it could be a degree course at Juilliard School in New York. So, you know, it's going from being street homeless to hopefully fulfilling his ambitions of going back and training again in terms of his music. So Emmaus as a movement, or as a small charity here, what our ambition is that we work with everybody individually to try and find out what their skills and abilities are, what they enjoy, what their passions are, and we try and help that to influence, to improve their lives. And then hopefully, whilst we're supporting them to do that, they support the community, and we thrive as well. So therefore, then when they move on, we're able to bring somebody else in. So Emmaus communities operate on a knife edge. We're always on a precipice, because we only receive a small amount of housing benefit to fund people staying here. All of the monies that it costs us to provide the accommodation for somebody to live here, we have to make from the sales in our stores. So we currently have 2 small stores. So we have enough monies coming in to have 18 companions living here. So we're currently looking at opening another store and a larger warehouse and workshop space. So when we've got those up and running, hopefully that'll generate more income, and then we'll be able to bring more people in. So we've got capacity to have up to 28 people living in this community. I think we will get to 25 within another year, and then we'll see where we go from there. What I'd ideally like to do is develop the building and put another floor on, and then be able to double the amount of our capacity that we'll be able to offer. But that's a next year's headache. But this year we've got 18 people living here, and people are doing really well. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 women. Is it 4? Let me think. We've got Ola, Jenny, Pat, Fiona, and Gemma. 5 women living in this community. It's the highest proportion of females across all of the communities. I'm in a meeting. Yeah? Sorry. Well, we've got 5 females living in this community, and percentage-wise, that's the highest proportion across all of the communities in the country of women living in communities. Historically, it's been very much a male-dominated environment, but we are seeing more and more women becoming street homeless and needing support from agencies like ourselves. So we're really proud of the fact that we have 5 women living here, and I think it's great for the community because it's a good mix. So a community is probably the best way of describing it to people is it's a bit like a halls of residence, where, you know, as a student you might have your own room, but you might have to share a shower and a kitchen and a bathroom. And most halls of residence that I remember when I was in university many years ago, that was mixed. And the mixed ones always seem to be the best ones, where they were male or where they were female. That always seems to be problems. And I think it's good for our community that we've got so many women here. Yeah, so we've been going for nearly 4 years now. We have Carl, who's working for us now. Carl was one of our pioneer companions. So when I first joined Emmaus Salford, the building was a building site, it was empty. So I recruited pioneer companions, and they're companions who come from other communities, who come and advise people like me, who knew nothing about what to do, had an idea but didn't know how to put the flesh on the bones. And Carl advised me, along with Pat, who you might meet later, advised me on how to... I'm in a meeting! Sorry. Advised me on how to set up the community. And then I think it was about 6 months ago, we were able to offer, Carl was interviewed and got the job on his own merits, and now he's our services supervisor. So what we try and do within Emmaus is recruit from within. So, you know, we train people up to manage our businesses. You know, that's how we make our money. The companions who join our communities are given training to work within our social enterprises. So they work within our stores, or they do all our cooking and cleaning, or they do our driving and deliveries. So without the companions working really hard every day, we wouldn't have any money to be able to put food on plates and turn the lights on. So it feels like a real success when we're able to employ somebody like Carl, who was so instrumental in making Emmaus Salford the success it is. I'm really lucky that I've got a great group of companions who make my job a whole lot easier by working really hard and making our social enterprises go, you know, turn over such a high return. So we're really lucky in that we've got such a great group of companions who want to take all that work. Any questions you want to ask, or is there anything more you want me to add?
That's absolutely perfect, honestly.
Yeah, are you sure? I do go on a bit, I do apologise.
No, that's brilliant.